I have to say that I am really proud of how I've been showing up with this project. I say that because I haven't been excited to show up for myself in a very, very long time, so I kind of surprise myself with how I continue to show up when it comes to questions that keep me up all night. I'm proud of my growth in that way. Now, specifically this live project, Sins of Our Mothers, Fault of Our Daughters, it is a dream come true. I love bringing people together to fellowship, eat good food, and have a good time. But as the world grows colder, it is important for me to attempt change and model influence each chance I get. As I grow to make myself a better person through research and talk therapy, my goal is to bring all those along who will allow themselves to be brought. That's what this specific project means to me, bringing others into healing with me. Why not? They're all the rave, honey, didn't you know? But seriously, I like the way that I can be creative. I think that I am a creative in all the spaces that I move through in life, but this content platform allows me to be creative in my thinking, creative in my presenting, creative in my inquiring, creative in my producing. It is my content. I'm not helping someone with their project. For the first time, I'm creating, producing, starring, and casting. The podcast and the way that I package it allows me a release through all these beautiful avenues. One pitfall of being a creative is that someone other than you has to like it in order for it to grow. If I can't convince others to see my vision, it stays a hobby instead of a business venture, Once I told my mom, you're the creative, but you need someone to produce it. You need someone to manage you and to tell you this works and that doesn't work. Well, now I'm in those shoes, but no one can produce me like I can produce me. The way I do things that I do would be greatly minimized if I let someone take over the visioning and editing. It is indeed a catch-22 because, of course, bringing in an expert could take it to a different level, but it won't be me. Well, like I always say, if you got the invite and checked out the website, you know the spiel, so let's get into it. Noggin ENT is a one-stop shop for event visioning, management, and production that was built to edutain and inspire. In addition to the questions that keep me up all night and Survivor's Residuum podcasts, we've got some curated events coming up this year and a t-shirt line launch in 2026. Look, there's room at the table for everyone to eat. I've been serving plates for a long time. Not ever going to stop serving people because that is my calling. And it's high time I make my plate and sit down. Oh, and remember, don't forget to remember to use your noggin. Wow, I am so happy to share with you guys Sins of Our Mothers, Fault of Our Daughters. This is our episode 7 of Questions That Keep Me Up All Night podcast. So welcome everybody. We're going to attempt to explore the complexities, challenges, and triumphs of the mother-daughter relationship as we discuss Roshki Hasseldine's mother-daughter attachment model. We're going to start out with a few questions for our audience. Everybody go ahead and put your answers in the chat. Let's go ahead and put it in the chat if you have more than one child. If you have more than one child, go ahead and put in the chat how many children you have. And let's go ahead and put a thumbs up for question number 2. Who has more than one daughter? Question number 2, who has more than one daughter? Go ahead and put your thumbs up for that. Question number 3, who has lost their mother before adulthood? Go ahead and let us know. If you lost your mother before adulthood, we honor you. We see you out there. Question number 4, who in here never knew their mother? Who in here never knew their mother? Go ahead and put in the chat, put a wave if you never knew your mother. Go ahead and wave your hands if you never knew your mother. We see you, we honor you. Those of you who were raised, number 5, by a woman other than your biological mother, your aunt, your grandmother, your cousin, your sister, anybody who was raised by a woman other than your biological mother. Let's go ahead and put a hand clap in the chat. Go ahead and put a hand clap in the chat if you're able to. And number 6, finally, who in here was raised by a single mother? Anybody raised by a single mother? I know a lot of us have been. We see you, we recognize you, and go ahead and put that in the chat. We're going to choose one lucky winner from the chat to send out a I Don't Play About My Mama t-shirt. So go ahead and answer your question in the chat, and we will get in contact with you and send you out an I Don't Play About My Mother t-shirt. For those of you who never knew your mother or who was raised by someone other than your mother, you can indicate that when we reach out to you, and we can give you a Noggin Ian t-shirt or a Sins of Our Mother t-shirt. So we have options for those 3 t-shirts. Thank you so much for your participation. Happy Juneteenth, guys. This event pays tribute to our female ancestors whose struggles and resilience have shaped our experiences. Their legacy provides us with platforms like this to share our stories and heal. As we discussed with some of the audience questions, there are many young ladies, old ladies, middle-aged ladies who did not have their mothers throughout their childhood or who did not have their mothers into adulthood. And I would like to honor them because they are also a part of this conversation. So I reached out to a few young ladies, and 2 of them responded with answers to these questions. The first one is my cousin. Thank you so much, cuz, for opening up and being transparent with us. I asked them to identify a special smell of a cooked food that evokes feelings of joy and nostalgia in their relationship. I also asked, what wisdom or message would you like to pass down from your mom's legacy? Number 3, how has your mom influenced your life and choices? Number 4, what's one thing you will always cherish about your mom? And number 5, what is your earliest memory of your mom? Jamila says, my mom didn't cook often, but I'll never forget the smell of her meatloaf made with Lipton onion soup mix. That scent instantly brings back warm memories and makes me smile. She also says, my mother was incredibly smart. She graduated from high school at 16, and as a single mom, she graduated from UC Berkeley. Education meant everything to her, and I carry that legacy by encouraging my children the same way. I'm determined to earn my bachelor's degree in her honor. She says, my mom influenced my life by showing me what strength and determination look like. Watching her balance motherhood and education taught me resilience, independence, and the importance of always pushing forward. I will always cherish the 13 and a half years we had together. I treasure every moment, and I'm especially grateful for the beautiful gift she left me, my little sister. Lastly, she said, one of my earliest memories is being in a car accident with her when I was a baby. Even then, I felt her protection and love. I believe that mother-daughter relationships are pivotal in shaping personal identities, beliefs, and emotional frameworks. These bonds can influence future generations, impacting patterns and behaviors, attachment styles, and emotional health, underscoring the importance of understanding this connection. The primary goal of our discussion today is to join the host, myself, in unpacking the narratives that I used surrounding mother-daughter relationships, also fostering an environment for healing and growth. I hope that the panel will reflect on their experiences, share stories, and engage in meaningful conversations to break cycles of trauma and induce legacy mindsets. Through intentional questioning, storytelling, and expert insights, I aim to transform personal legacies and address the unresolved issues that hinder relationships between mothers and daughters. At least I hope to begin to. The healing process will involve acknowledging past traumas while encouraging future resilience. Lastly, I hope we understand that healing is crucial to reclaiming personal narratives and fostering healthier relationships. I hope that the panelists will learn strategies for forgiveness and self-discovery to reshape their connections with their mothers and daughters, promoting emotional well-being. So we got to pay the bills, which means we got to get some preliminary things out the way. I want to thank our sponsors. That is going to be Yomata Pascal. Thank you so much for your contribution. That's going to be Listen and See Productions. Thank you so much for your contribution. And Relate and Elevate Social Club. Thank you so much for your contribution. I'd also like to thank our audience members. I'd like to thank the panelists for purchasing your panelist tickets. That goes to help our youth workers. And to thank Claudia for helping us with the food for the program, as well as our bartender, hostess with the mostest, AJ. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I want to give a big shout out to Wendy Zencanum, who did the host wardrobe. And I'd also like to thank Tanisha Johnson for her expertise about mother-daughter relationships. Thank you to you all. Now let's begin. Thank you so much for joining us here, everybody. This is our first live Questions That Keep Me Up All Night podcast. And we are live with some mother-daughter couples and a few friends. So first, I just want to say thank you to my mother and my sister who traveled a long way to get here for this little old podcast. I appreciate you guys coming in. This is titled Sins of Our Mothers, Faults of Our Daughters. And I'm just going to give a little bit of an example of what the difference might be. So my cousin sent me a picture of me when I was little, and my edges were running away from my head. It was like literally a whole gap right here, and then the hair started here. And when I saw that a couple of months ago, I said, that's why you did that to me. So I would say that was sins of the mother, right? However, if you could see under here now, they haven't gotten any better. So that would be fault of the daughter, right? I did not do what I was supposed to do. I didn't massage it enough. I didn't put the oil in it. And honestly, I just don't care. So now my edges are still running away from my face, and that's fault of the daughter. So we're going to talk about the things that happen in the mother-daughter relationship. We're going to dive into a little bit after the intermission about the mother-daughter attachment model. And it talks about how society sees mothers and females and what they are expecting of mothers. And we have to reframe that and see mothers as human beings. So we're going to go ahead and do introductions.
All right, so this is my mother, Faith Jamal. She's a registered nurse hailing from Pasadena, California. Her favorite restaurant is Yard House. Her favorite city is San Diego, California. And her favorite quote is, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future," Jeremiah 29:11. And her dream vacation is Costa Rica.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is my daughter, Naya Jamal. She was born in Pasadena, California. She recently graduated from Howard University with a BS in biology. She aspires to be a medical salon owner. Her favorite restaurant is Jack's here in Pleasant Hill. And her favorite city is Atlanta. And her favorite quote is, "The only impossible journey is the one you never begin." And her dream location is Santorini, Greece.
Hello, this is my daughter, Michelle, and her occupation is Worker Success Specialist 2. She was born in Vallejo, California. Her favorite food is any Asian cuisine. Her favorite city is San Diego. And her favorite quote is, "When people show you who they are, believe them the first time," by Maya Angelou. And her dream vacation is Bora Bora.
This is my mother, Robin, aka Keisha. She's a community service specialist too. She was born in Vallejo but raised in Oakland and Berkeley. Her favorite quote is, "I don't want to get to the end of my life and find that I have lived just the length of it. I want to have lived the width of it as well." Her favorite restaurant is Toss in Berkeley, and her favorite city is San Diego as well. And then her dream vacation is St. Thomas.
Okay, this is my mom, Akila Karanja. Her main profession is that she's a nurse practitioner, but she's also a writer, she's a cartoonist, and she's a community health and wellness advocate. She's from Berkeley, Oakland, California. Her favorite restaurant right now is Kava. Her favorite city, she says, is South Bend, which is where we live right now, but she also really likes a city in Colombia called Palenque. Her favorite quote is, "No individual has any right to come into the world and go out of it without leaving behind him distinct and legitimate reasons for having passed through it." And that's by George Washington Carver. And her dream retirement location, she's not sure yet. Maybe South Bend, maybe somewhere in Africa. Depends how the world turns out.
And this is my daughter, Wambui. Yejide is my daughter as well. Wambui Karanja is a registered nurse, and she was born in South Bend, Indiana. And Cava is her favorite restaurant. She introduced me to that. Her favorite city is Peñascola, Spain. And her quote is, "You can reinvent yourself as many times as you need." Unknown. And where she wants to retire, maybe South Bend. She doesn't know, but maybe South Bend.
This here is my friend, Carlina Williams. She is an entrepreneur, mother, and life student. She was born in San Francisco, California. Her favorite restaurant is Mission Street Oyster Bar. And her favorite quote is, "Your direct deposit will arrive in 1 to 2 business days." Her vacation spot is Paris, the Philippines, and Senegal. And she would like to, I guess, as far as your retirement plan, travel the world with the people she loves the most. I wanted to do that because I will say that when I was younger, I didn't see my mother as a person. I saw her as a mother. I didn't see her as somebody who had desires and wants and needs. And for a long time, it was just like, she's a disciplinarian. That's it. Like, I know that she provides food, shelter, and a good swift kick in the butt if I need one. I didn't see her as somebody who actually had a dream, something that she wanted to do. I never even thought of it that way. And so I wanted us to kind of look at what mothers might want, what daughters might want, because the reverse is that mothers might just see their daughters like, this is somebody I have to raise. That's it. I got to make sure they get out on their own. I have to make sure that everything is going well. And then that's it. I've done my job. And that they are people too. They have desires. And maybe if our relationships can be whole, we can each get each other to that place. I just want to ask my mother, what was your reaction when I asked you to do this, and why we need to sit down and have this conversation?
Well, because I've been doing the work, I'm a part of a confessional community. We talk about these things every Saturday. And because I'm on my healing journey, I said, wow, yeah, let's do this. I was really welcoming this, and I really like how you are going in these spaces and, working things out with us and allowing this same energy to go to other people. So I was like, yeah, I'll be there.
So I asked my little sister to come on because there's actually 3 of us, and I didn't think it would be fair to have all 3 of us, like mother, daughter, like if there's issues or whatever, if they best friends, so there may not be any issues. So we're going to more focus on their relationship. And I don't know if we can kind of dive into this a little bit. I asked several of my friends, also people that I know, to be on the panel. And some people said yes initially, and then said no when they saw the questions. And then some people said, yeah, I'm going to be there. And then they were like, nah, never mind. And so that speaks to the reason why we might need to have this conversation. I'm mature enough to say that I didn't like my mom for a very long time, and it had nothing to do with her. And so I wanted to dive into this for me. Questions that keep me up all night is podcast for me to kind of like unpack some things and get opinions of other people to kind of help me along with that journey. My sister introduced me to journaling as a form of therapy. I don't like writing. I don't feel like doing it. So I figured, let me figure something else out. And so let's talk. Let's have talk therapy. So that's what we're going to get into. I'm going to ask you, Robin, what were your hopes and dreams for your daughter when she was born?
That she would be successful, that she would love the Lord, that she would, become college educated, and that she would just have the American dream, what I thought was the American dream, right? So and I think a lot of us like that for our children, but my American dream may not be what her American dream is. So that's what I initially wanted.
And in that, how did your own upbringing influence your parenting style?
So my mother growing up with her, she was more of an action person, not affectionate, right? And so she did, I don't know why I just got emotional, but she did the things, but no interaction. And then I found myself doing the same thing with my children, just showing them that I love them, showing them that I'm going to take care of them, but not having that love, I loved them, but not the huggy type of, affectionate. So I think that's what influenced mine because my mother didn't give it to me. Yeah.
I kind of piggyback on Robin. Like I wanted her to be successful. It was drilled into me. Get an education. Go get a good job. Take care of yourself. And as I am healing, I'm realizing that that's not everybody's journey. That's the society telling us that. Even though my daughter graduated from college now, and I still like, what are you gonna do now? What's your next step? And kind of pressuring her, but I think that was just drilled into me. So it's like me trying to unlearn these things. So I wanted her to be a lawyer, a doctor, all the things to be able to take care of herself because I never wanted to be dependent on people. Right. So I instilled in that with my kids, like, you don't want to ever depend on anybody. Right. And so, but the reality is that we do need community. We do need to lean on people. And so now I'm trying to catch myself when I say these things. I'm still saying them, right? And so that's really what I wanted her to do. And my mother growing up, we had, I thought we had a good relationship. She took care of me, made sure I provided everything that I needed. But still there was a disconnect, right? It was, she worked all the time. I had a sister that was disabled. So I was kind of like to fend for myself in a way. So I just didn't want my kids to have to do that. And so I overcompensated with things, right? Just to share. I didn't fully raise my children, right? They were with their father and I was traveling, trying to find myself. And so I'm at the point now trying to start all over, right? And trying to pick up the pieces.
You said you were in a healing community. Did you do that healing before you had her, or did your upbringing still influence that?
Yeah, my upbringing, I came from a dysfunctional, broken home. My dad divorced my mom a long time ago. My grandfather molested me. And so my only real thing was just to keep my daughter safe. I wasn't really even thinking about what you're going to grow up to be. Just keep you safe. And so I realized that had some detrimental effects, with you and your older sister. But with Wambui, her dad was there. So he was a buffer. He helped to teach me how to raise her. Actually, he taught me a lot, need to massage her, you just need to just be there. He showed me things that I wanted to do as far as protecting my children. And, so I went through stuff because I didn't feel like I protected you guys enough and didn't get to the point where, hey, what you gonna do when you get out of here? Like making money, how are you gonna make your money? And I never got to that point.
You were still caught up in trying to protect. Yeah. Carlina, what is your earliest memory of your mother, and how did your mother's parenting style shape your childhood?
Earliest memory of my mother, I would say her taking us to my aunt's house, the little getaways that we would have, us piling in the van and going to my aunt's house for Christmas or like holidays, My mother was very loving, and she still is actually. She was very affectionate. She was really hard on me when it came to my education. She made sure that I didn't get a B or didn't get lower than a B, rather. I was on the honor roll every year. Like, it was all about education, making money, and looking beautiful. That was my mom. And I actually remember her every Easter, she would say, "You my chocolate Easter bunny." You know how you get those chocolate Easter bunnies? She would always call me that. And my mom was always kissy, huggy, and like her pet names for me, I mean, they ranged so much. There was always Sweetie, Tootsie, all these names. She was very loving and affectionate, but she was also very stern about making sure that I knew how to make money for myself and my grades were good. And after a while, that really used to get on my nerves because sometimes it felt like I couldn't just be a kid. She wanted me to strive, have goals out of this world. She wanted me to be a lawyer and all these things, which obviously I didn't become one, but I'm very opinionated. So she thought that was, so she was a great mom. I would say she was a great mom. Spiritually, she didn't really guide me. My dad did that part. I'm a mother as well. I have twin boys, and I think that's all kind of I'm doing the same thing. Now that I think I'm doing the same thing.
Sins of our mothers, fault of the daughter. Michelle, can you identify a specific smell of a cooked food that evokes feelings and joy and nostalgia in your relationship?
Yes, yes. My mom's potatoes and meat. Such a simple dish, but she would make it, and it reminds me of like Sundays when we would clean up the house and just listen to music, dance around, real fun times. It really brings pure happiness to me. Yeah.
The reason why I asked that, I think I was driving with my mom, and the reverse, there was this feeling of like immediate like panic. I drove by this area and I just tears instantly. And I don't know why, something about that area. And she was telling me about like intrinsic like memories and things like that. And so things that bring joy, when you think about your mother, those are the things that you want to think about when you're in this valley of decision where it's like, bruh, I don't want to deal with you right now. Like those things that are meat and potatoes, the smells that come back, the incense, like Blue Nile and Egyptian musk is my mom. I just remember that, And so those things are warming, even for people who have lost their mothers, the things that their mothers have gave them previously. I think we need to really ponder on those things because those are gifts that they gave to us. So I'm going to ask you, Bowie, and then who cooks it better, you or your mom?
So mine is she cooks eggplant 2 ways. When I was young, she used to do it a lot fried. She's very healthy, so she used to boil flaxseed like as an egg replacement because it gets like the same consistency. So she'd do that and then she'd batter it and then fry it, and it was really good. Now she does it a lot like a stew kind of. She'll saute onions and tomatoes and cook the eggplant in that, put some coconut milk. So they're both really good. Of course, she cooks it better, but I try.
For you, Inaya.
I would probably have to say yams. Like my mom said, we didn't grow up with her, so I often spent like holidays with my mom. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, if we were getting together with family, she make the yams. Everybody knows her for her yams. Like they're delicious. And I've actually never made yams myself, but I don't think that I could make yams better than her because, yeah, they're just that good. Like I love her yams. I don't think anybody can top her yams.
I'm going to talk to the mothers. What is one word that describes your relationship, you and your daughter's relationship? And without singing it, give us a title of a song that epitomizes that word. Again, we're trying to create like this thing of this connection with words, smells, feelings.
We're close. So think of a song. Can't sing it?
No.
All the songs I'm thinking about is like intimate relationships. But I would just say Mia Moore because I noticed Stevie Wonder sang that about his daughter. So I'll say that one.
Softly and tenderly.
Oh, but what's the one word?
Soft.
Tenderness. Yeah.
And softly and tenderly. That's good. That's a good one.
I had several, but I this morning I got up trying to figure out a song, but I'm going to say Inseparable. Although the song Inseparable is about a man and a woman, but if you listen to the words, that's her and I. We're inseparable.
Very good. We're going to talk about a little bit of challenges. For mothers, Robin, what's the most difficult lesson you've had to learn as a mother?
So my most difficult lesson I learned is that I shared too much. In that I shared too much of my trauma with my babies, like childhood stuff, right? And that didn't work well because by me sharing all my trauma, it didn't leave them no room to share their trauma, right? Things that they experienced as kids with me. And so they went through their lives making excuses for me. So if they didn't like something that was going on with me, they go, Mom, it's okay. We know you don't know no better. We know you didn't grow up with your mom. You didn't have your mom to show you things. Parents are not perfect. So that's horrible. And so I just learned that. I mean, I was looking at some papers, cleaning out my papers, and they always would send me letters. But in every letter that they sent, even if they was feeling a certain thing about me, they would excuse it. But Mom, we know that you struggled, and we know you love us. And so it minimized them and their emotions because they were trying to protect me. So I feel like that was very unfair. And so, so I feel like they grew up minimizing how they really felt in life and the struggles that they had. And, I know I was difficult because I was broken. And so even to this day, they still make excuses for me, and I have to change that.
I want to unpack that a little bit. I had this conversation with my mother where she continually apologized. And for the most part, she never really told us anything until just recently. But it was like, well, I don't want to tell you this. I shouldn't have to tell you this. But my response to that is, if you don't have anybody else, who do you tell? If, there are many of us on the panel that are Christian and we believe in the power of having people in the church. But what if you don't have a couple in the church that said they were going to be there? Where are the women in the church that's going to reach out to you, or in your family, or in your friend circle? One thing I admire about Carlina, she has a lot of friends. A lot. My homegirl out there in the audience says I do, but this one here, for real. So where are the people when you need them? And if you don't have them and that's all you have, again, not making excuses, but we're trying to put these are the things that we need to put out there. If you don't have a community to talk to, and you feel like you're going to break if you don't get this out, those are the people that are close to you.
That's true. But I feel like, I'm being honest, right? I feel like I allowed them to make that excuse for me because I didn't want to deal with me. And I knew that I wasn't showing up for them in the way in which I should have, right? So it's one thing to, to let them say all those things, but then I needed to say what you need to say. How you feeling? I didn't leave that room for that, right? So they grew up silent. That's awful, And so I'm trying to now, because I'm owning it now, right? To make peace with them, right? So yes, I have lived in trauma here my whole life, but then they suffered for it. And so now I got to unpack their trauma, and they're 34 and 37 years old. That's a lot of unpacking, but we'll do it. But I'm just saying that's something I have to live with. And I feel like I shouldn't have shared so much.
Thank you for that. This is a start. It's not the middle. It's not the end. This is a start to have the conversation. So I appreciate you being honest and transparent with that. So I asked her, what are the most difficult lessons you had to learn as a mother? Did you feel like you're alone in that difficult lesson? Like we talked about, she didn't have anybody to speak to, and maybe she didn't have that accountability. Did you feel like with your difficult lesson, and I'm going to let you explain that, do you feel like you're alone in it? Like it's relegated to your relationship only? Or were there other people you feel could have been going through the same thing? And
yeah, clearly listening to Robin's story, I could say the same thing. I was going through trauma. I didn't talk about it. I was silent. And so that, again, didn't allow them to speak their mind because I was teaching them to be silent about their stuff. And now if something goes down, I say, what's going on? They say, I don't want to talk about it. And that's what I taught them. I didn't want to talk about it. I decided to sing, write music, or write a book, or dance, or do something to just throw it off. And so it looks like to everybody, oh, she's so talented. Well, the real deal is I'm running from issues and I'm going to a place to hide. And so I even see some of that, what you talked about, Robin, in relationships with my daughters, how they tend to cover me when I'm going through. And one daughter said, I just can't deal with that. I'm just exit stage left. And I can't really go off on her about it because I understand the attachment issues that she's going through because of what her parents were going through. But I also, and to that question, was I doing that by myself? No. Many of us were doing it because many of us had attachment issues ourselves, and we cannot give what we don't have. So we were just making it the best way we could. Oh man, I gotta cry in front of these kids. Okay, I gotta cry, and they're going to say, what's wrong, Mom? Well, I can't tell you what's the matter because you're too young. You can't understand it. So I'm just going to say nothing. And it's obvious that there's something going on. So yeah, many of us were doing it.
Carlina, what's the biggest challenge you've had to face in your relationship with your mother? And then have you attempted at any time in your adult years to solve it?
The biggest challenge I would say is being able to express myself to my mother when she's the person that's doing the wrongdoing, or that I felt is doing the wrongdoing, because she comes from a generation where it's like your parents pretty much are always right. Do as I say, not as I do. Stay in the child's place. Like all of those things, basically being silent. Yeah. So throughout all my childhood and my maybe 20s, early 30s, when I would approach my mother with whatever I was feeling, she would immediately get defensive, immediately tell me that, you only have one mother. So it's like anything, or 1 minute I'm the best daughter ever. And then when I approach her with something, it's, well, my friends their children don't talk to their mother this way, or, just that, how dare you energy. Like I could never take you out. Like that part always. So how I've dealt with it, I mean, it's been a journey. Initially, I would go toe to toe with her, but I would feel so bad because I do want to be respectful to my mother, but at the same time, I want to be respectful to me too. I want to be heard, right? And I understand that how I deal with the people that I love and that I'm closest to is how I deal really with everything. So if I'm having these bad habits of withholding or keeping things in, then that's how I'm kind of going to go about my life. And I didn't want to do that. And so, like I said, initially I would go toe to toe with her. Then eventually I would just not talk to her. And one of the most extreme scenarios was we drove out to Las Vegas, me, my children, my mom, to see my brother. We got into it so bad, I left her in Las Vegas. I did. And I told my brother, I said, you gonna have to find out how to get your mama back home, because I couldn't take it. It was way too much for me. And I mean, we're good. We're in a much better place now. So after that was kind of the peak of things. And after that, what I started to do is send her little clips from YouTube or like articles, like, scenarios like this, like maybe a podcast or an article on relationships and mother-daughter, because I felt like maybe she needs to hear it from somewhere else, so she'll understand that this is an issue, but it's not just our issue. And that actually started to work, to where she started to send me articles. And so we do that now. We send each other different, we find different outlets to share with one another. And so now she recently learned the word triggers. And I went to therapy a few times and learned the word trigger. So now we we understand what that is now. And so we kind of brace ourselves a bit, and we are more considerate of each other's feelings now. So we still fall out, but we get back much quicker now. Just a week ago, we fell out. And she texted me the next day. She was like, Lena, you could have spoke to me better. And usually it'll be this long message cussing me out. But it was just that sentence. And I said, I apologize, Mom. I could have spoke to you better. And then she called me. She was like, I love you. And I was like, I love you too. And so we got to talk it out a little bit, and we're back.
That's good. We actually had a live with a friend of ours, Tanisha, and Carlina, talking about that, like the triggers and learning how to snap back quicker, because I think, a lot of times, sometimes it feels good to stay in it. I'm mad. You made me mad, and I'm going to stay in it. I'm mad. You don't recognize what you did. You grown and you can't figure that out. I don't want to have to tell you. But sometimes what may trigger somebody, it doesn't make sense to us. I'm like, what? It's not that big of a deal. Or what might trigger that person, or what might trigger me, it's not that big of a deal to them. And I'm like, how can you not see that this is not that big of a deal? The snapback is the maturity, the getting back, because we're not always going to get along. And understanding that, we're all adults now. Everybody here on the panel are adults. And what Carlina was saying is that her situation with her mom mirrors how she interacts with everybody else. That's true for all of us. Maybe not, maybe your father, your mom, your spouse, but how you are with your closest person is how you're going to interact with the world. So when you go to work and you can't figure out why you mad and can't stand everybody, like you got to check where you're coming with talking to myself, okay? Not you, boo. Inaya, I'm going to ask, how have you navigated conflicts or disagreements with your mother? Or have you?
See, it's usually just talking it out. I don't want to say that we don't have conflicts because I can think of one that we had like a month ago. We're in the car and she was telling me about something, and I was like, my rebuttal was like, I already did that. And I have to see her as somebody who's been in my shoes before. Like, she's coming to me as somebody with knowledge and she wants me to do better. So more so thinking of the things that she says to me as advice rather than an argument or her like talking at me. 'Cause I feel like with mother-daughter relationships or any relationship where somebody is older than you, if they're talking to you, you're automatically going to think they're talking at you. Like, you're not going to think, like, this person is actually trying to give me advice. Like, maybe I should listen. It's more so like, I guess, being softer with the things that she may say to me, because like I said, she's been in my shoes before. Maybe not exactly in my shoes, but she's 20 years my senior. Like, she has way more experience than I do. And the conversation or the talk that we had in the car, argument, whatever you want to call it, it was about my son. So this is her coming to me as a mother. And I often, well, at least now that I'm older, I don't only see my mom as my mom. I try to see, you talked about this, seeing mothers as people too. And I think that sometimes because I see her more of a friend now, I forget that she's also my mom. Like, she's giving me motherly advice. It's not only just advice. Like, so pretty much distinguishing when to get angry and to just listen to what she's saying because she's only trying to help me.
I like that. I want to go with that friendship thing real quick. I'm going to ask you a question, but I just wanted to respond about that. I'm a pit bull in the moment. Like, what? No, I'm doing it already. Like, I'm grown. Don't be telling me nothing. But then I go back and I do that in the moment. I do it with my husband too. I do it in the moment because it's like, no, I had this, like, why are you telling me this? I've been living on my own for a long time. Like, I survived. I'm not dead yet. Yeah. Right? But then I have to go back. And a lot of times I go back, but it's the pride that gets in the way of me after I go back and I say, oh, that's what she was trying to say. Mm-hmm. I get it. I don't like how it was said, but that's what was trying to, it's the pride that gets in the way of me going back and saying, I get you. And so that's something that I know as a daughter, I need to work on, going back and trying, because it's okay. Like, I'm not going to die if I say sorry, you know, we're not going to die if we say sorry, but sometimes it feels like it. Yeah. I want to talk about the friendship thing with you, because you've on several occasions said, that's my girl, that's my best friend. And I know that you guys are close, and you said close was your word. And then what was your word? Inseparable. And then tenderness. So, like, help me out. What is that like? And like, what was your upbringing like with mom? And was it because you were basically kind of like the only child? How is that now? And how was it difficult to navigate as a child, her being your mom? And how is your relationship?
Sorry, I'm already getting emotional. But yeah, my mom's my best friend. I always tell her that she's my favorite person in the world. And I don't really remember a time where we weren't close. The only conflicts I remember very distinctly when I was a kid is when we would go to the store and we would fight over getting me clothes, and she'd be like, you can't wear that. I'm like, what are you talking about? So but yeah, I do see her as my mom. There's times when we butt heads, but I always have a thing in me to go back and apologize because she's the closest person to me. And I don't think I've ever vocalized this before, but I think sometimes I feel bad because she is the closest person to me, and I'm very shy and I don't share myself with a lot of people. Whenever I'm like tired or stressed, she gets like my like rough edges, and just because I feel comfortable enough to be so real with her, which is a double-edged sword because I don't want to treat her like that because I love her the most. That's a bit of a gray area there, but yeah, my mom is my best friend, and I just feel so connected to her that when she's going through something, I feel like I'm going through it too, or if she's not happy, I'm not happy. It's like that.
That's beautiful. And the reason why I say that is because I used to see people say like, oh, my mom's my best friend, we dress alike and stuff. And I'm like, girl, my mama used to beat me. Not like that, but y'all know. Listen, she can't, statute of limitations. Can't nobody do nothing. But I mean, I think we had a conversation just recently about friendship. I'm like, you're my mom. You're not my friend, right? And I'm not trying to be harsh. I just never, when I see people like dressing alike and, and all this stuff. She made us dress alike.
You got us doing?
Your idea.
It's aesthetically pleasing, okay? But I mean, and I've done that before as an adult too. My mom's like, we're going to wear the same dress. We went to a wedding. I'm like, yeah, mom, it's a free extra sample. You better wear it. But realistically in my head, I always saw her as a disciplinarian. So how can you be my friend? I didn't think about it like that. But what I noticed, like, I do feel like I'm my mother's protector, right? But I also feel like that about everybody in the family. So when I moved back for a short period of time and I was living and Bowie was in high school, and I thought, because I didn't know what was going on, I thought she was about to try my sister. I was like, no, 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 no. You're not going to do her like you did us. But what I realized is it's totally different, especially how my mom talked about her dad was there. So being in the household, like their dynamic was different. I call myself trying to like lay out in front of a bus and protect her from what I thought my mom was doing, and then also on the reverse, I'm automatically like, yeah, I got my issues, but don't say nothing about my mama. You know what I'm saying? Don't you try, because we're going to go toe to toe. And so I know you had something to say about that, but with the friendship, I'm learning that, I mean, I guess there is more parenting, but really there's no more upbringing that she has to do. So why can we not be friends? I'm 40, like that. So I'm not, so I'm pretty old. So go ahead.
I just want to say two things. One, when Wambui was a little child, when I was still nursing her, she was standing on her feet. I was at my mother's house, who has since passed from cancer. So she died a long time ago. But I was backing up and I start falling. Wambui, at the age of 1-something, she was frantic trying to catch me from falling. So just to know that. And Yejide, yes, if something is going down with somebody in her family, she's on it. Something happened to her dad. And she got 2 dads. This is the dad that's still living. When boy came running in the house frantic because somebody was trying to do something to him, she went shoeless, sockless, running down the street to take care of it. I just want to say that that's her. But as far as friendship with Wambui, there's always been there. But Yejide, she got a different mama. She got a like young mama going through some stuff who had to do some stuff. But now, yeah, daughters and mothers should be friends. I love that. These are my favorite people in the world. So I appreciate what you're doing.
I wanted to ask you, Faith, do you feel like, and I understand that Inaya and Jasiri and your other daughter were raised by their dad for the most part, and then she came with you. Did you feel like you made a mistake? You feel like you were alone in that situation?
Absolutely. So I had them young. She's a twin. Inaya's a twin. I was 20 years old, in a relationship with somebody extremely older than me. I didn't know who I was at all. And when it got difficult, I ran. And in the process of running, trying to save me, I left my children. So, yeah, I had that regret, but I keep on telling myself, well, you couldn't do anything for them if you weren't good for yourself. But the reality is, of what I have as a mother in my mind is that you got to be there. You brought them in the world. You got to stay there. You got to protect them. Like she was saying, protect them. And I felt like I didn't protect them. So like right now, yeah, picking up the pieces. Robin said that she shared too much. I didn't share enough, right? I didn't know who I was at all, right? But I know I hid behind a mask, right? I've always made it seem like everything was good. So they saw no struggle. They saw nothing. Everything is Disneyland for them. Everything was Disneyland. And so now she talks about a situation. I just blew up like a couple of days ago, because I hold it in. And I don't let them know what's going on, right? But the reality is, I can't go backwards. I can't fix 15 years ago. We got to start right now. And what I can give you right now is that I'm healing. They'll even tell you like definitely a different person. So, and now I share more. And so I'm at the point where It's like, we have to figure this out. And I just like threw my hands up. I was like, no more hiding, no more pretending. This is how I'm feeling. How you feeling? Right. And so, yes, I journal, I do all of these things. But I realized that again, I'm on this healing journey. When I was surviving, I wasn't letting them know. Now I'm healing. I'm not really now letting them know that I'm in therapy, doing all these things. I need to share it so they know that I'm not perfect. I'm human, and that they can heal too. Right. Because with me leaving them, they got abandonment issues, but I had abandonment issues. And I realized I'm repeating the cycle, even though I was trying to do the complete opposite of my upbringing. I did it a different way, but the same.
I'm going to go to you, Shell. But before I do that, how many of us said, I'm not going to do that? How many daughters, even mothers, how many of y'all say, I'm not going to do that when I grow up? I'm not going to be like that when I grow up. And exactly like our mothers. And sometimes for the good, and sometimes not so good. But it's one of those things. One thing is hereditary. You really can't get rid of that, I remember my mom used to sing her little heart out. And then when she was singing, there's this one vein that just pops out. And I would be like, look at Mom. I get secondhand embarrassment real quick. I don't know why. Listen, if you ever see a video of me, I know y'all saw me at Wings and stuff. It's the same vein popping out. I sound just like her. I look in the mirror. I'm like, Akila, go away, please. She is right there. She just doesn't go away. So I can't help it. Thanks, Mom. Appreciate you. Okay, Shell, I'm going to ask you, what's the biggest challenge you faced in your relationship with your mother? And have you attempted at any time in your adult years to solve it?
So my biggest thing was speaking up and saying how I feel and just really having a voice. It's like, it's her way or making sure she's happy. So now that I'm older, it took a while for me to really speak up because her and my brother, they both have big voices and personalities. So like, even though I'm funny, I'm fun, whatever, but I'm not as loud as they are. So I would feel like, it's like, okay, let me just fall back. So now that I'm older, I'm learning like, speak up, let them know how you feel. Even if they don't like it, you got to hear how I feel. My feelings are still valid just as yours are valid. Just, learning to agree to disagree, but still making sure that she knows how I'm feeling in that moment.
I just realized y'all both have the same glasses. Come through. Yes. Yeah, clock it. So we are going to take a little recess and we're going to convene back here. But we talked about people who have lost their mothers. I had a cousin who lost her mother at a very early age. And so when we come back, we're going to talk about some questions that they answered about their mother, because we do want to acknowledge that there are people around here who made it, right? But they struggled. They didn't have their mother around them to push them through. And so we want to kind of rally around them as a community. With Noggin Entertainment, we talk about edutainment. We want them to go and start doing their own healing, but we want to bring them into this circle and this community and say, like, you still can have this conversation whether your mom is here or not, and we can still start the healing process. All right, so we'll be back in about 15 minutes. Anybody want to know what the word grateful means? Go to the dictionary, look it up, and you'll see me, she, her right there. If you have a dream that you're trying to pursue, I would say do it anyway, whether you get support or not. But when you do get the support, that grateful. So as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by my actual job. My mother and sister flew all the way out here for my little old podcast. What? Grateful. Just like, it's like this is a regular day. Like, oh yeah, we'll be there. What? Grateful. Me, she, her. Yeah. So I look away again on nights like these when my willpower's weak. I gotta close, so just let it here for a different kind of edutainment, one for those of us who are healing in our own unique way. Questions That Keep Me Up All Night is a podcast produced by Noggin Entertainment, a Christian, Black, woman-owned company still in its infancy. Noggin Entertainment came into existence to produce educational content and talk therapy for those hard to identify and even harder to heal universal traumas that unite us all. Join us here for a once-monthly podcast exploring what is, why it is, and what it will be. Oh, and by the way, when we're not hanging out on the pod edutaining, Noggin ENT doubles as an event management and production company specializing in passion projects. Check out our website. Tanisha Johnson is an associate clinical social worker, trauma response coach, and a 2-time self-help author. I have read one of her books, or read part of one of her books, and she has another book out, which some of you guys will be getting today. She specializes in emotional self-care, childhood trauma, and codependency. Tanisha believes self-awareness can help everyone define who they are and what they need in life in order to have joy and peace. Tanisha supports men and women in understanding why they react and behave in certain ways in their relationships. She has helped hundreds of men and women through one-on-one coaching sessions as well as her workshops. I will tell you, just interviewing her on one of my podcasts, she already taught me some stuff, and I'm like, maybe I need to get into a session with you. We're going to be talking about Rashka Hasseldine's mother-daughter attachment model. It's important that we sit down and we talk about this so that we can have amazing legacies to pass on. This mother-daughter attachment model explains the dynamics between mothers and daughters and how to strengthen their relationship. The model was developed to help people understand why mothers and daughters may feel hurt, misunderstood, or blamed, and why they engage in power struggles. It also explains how these dynamics can be passed down from mother to daughter and how they can affect women's behavior in other relationships. And Tanisha brought up there's 3 different types of strange mother-daughter relationships, and sometimes that shows up in our other relationships. Can you speak to that again?
Yeah, absolutely. And so with a lot of the clients I work with, I generally see 3 different forms of relationships. Either it is the mother who is like narcissistic and she kind of has her children like being like her little pawns, helping her have the life that she wants. Or we have the mother who did not get a lot of emotional support herself. And so now she's relying on her children to support her emotionally. Or we have the mother who is also struggling with setting boundaries and people pleasing and that whole lifestyle of codependency. And now she passes that on as a behavior model. Like, this is how we interact with people in order to be seen and respected in relationships. She passes that on to her children. And all 3, are being done subconsciously, of course. They're not aware.
What I noticed about this model is it discusses a few things that we don't like to talk about. It's a systemic and trauma-informed and culture-informed model that makes the complicated dynamics between mothers and daughters easier to understand. So some things, like you said, we're unaware. This makes it easier to identify and understand. It teaches mental health professionals and coaches and women how to uncover often hidden underlying dynamics between mothers and daughters and what causes conflict, emotional disconnection, and estrangement. And often I've been seeing that a lot where people are like, I no longer need my family of origin. I create my own family. This is what we're doing, and completely dismiss that instead of working through those things, right? This model also provides solutions, tools, and exercises that heal mother-daughter conflict, facilitate closer emotional connection, and generational, I'll say it again, generational change and healing. And it provides solutions, tools, and exercises that heal mother-daughter conflict, facilitate closer emotional connection, and generational change and healing. Also, it challenges the way society and many human development theories view caregiving as a female quality rather than a human quality.
Right.
And then it reveals that mother-daughter conflict does not occur in a cultural vacuum, right? So a lot of times we're identifying with us as Black females, but it just doesn't occur in a cultural vacuum. Rather, it's warning us that something is wrong with the way women and girls are being treated. It also imparts essential understanding about how to work therapeutically with women and girls, including how to gain a deeper understanding of their lives, emotional reality, and developmental needs. And lastly, it exposes the emotional truth about women's generational experience with patriarchy, the trauma women experience, and how patriarchy blames, shames, and guilt trips women and girls. Solution number 1 to this mother-daughter complex: mothers are people first. What do you say about that?
I think that's true. And I think it's easy for us to forget that because we are looking at them in the sense of this is my mother who's supposed to be looking out for me, supporting me, guiding me, nurturing me. And we kind of see them from that, from that really high hierarchy, like the author was mentioning before. And I think sometimes that prevents us from also being able to see the other side of that this is still a person who has their own things they're working through, who has now made a commitment to help us while they're also still trying to figure out like how to help themselves and what they need too.
In your experience dealing with codependency, I know that you have spoken to people who have mommy issues, so to speak, or maybe who have strained relationships with their daughters. How do you deal with this solution, mothers are people first? How do you go into that? Especially you dealt with this yourself and you talked about your relationship with your mother.
Right.
How did you deal with your healing in using that solution? Let me just read what she says. This solution exposes one of the main causes of mother-daughter conflict, our deep-seated belief in the culture of female service. And it reveals how some therapeutic modalities and human development theories that mental health professionals use are based on the sexist notion that women and mothers are caregivers with little to no identity as people in their own right.
That is so true because I think because we're not adding in that this is someone who also has their own past trauma, that they're trying to navigate life with, and now they have a child or they have children. And I agree that you definitely have to be able to do the work yourself because what often happens is the mother herself has her trauma, then the child has her trauma that is now attached to how they've interacted with the mother. And one thing I did to kind of release myself from that is I had to go and figure out my own healing and figure out my own tools and what I needed so that I could come back to this relationship. Because a lot of us do a method of like, it's almost like going to a well that's empty and expecting it to have water. Our parents don't do things to nurture and pour into themselves because the whole self-care piece is really something that's almost like brand new. People just started talking about it like maybe 15, 20 years ago. We were little kids, but our parents were already in their 30s, 40s, 50s when this information came out. They have a long history of still not really understanding self-care, not understanding the reason behind going to therapy or counseling or even listen to podcasts. I feel like podcasts like yours and other podcasts, they weren't out, but they build self-awareness. We're constantly learning about these things, but they didn't have a lot of direction or a lot of avenues to be able to learn. We have to do our healing so that we can be in a relationship with them and see what they do as objective versus internalizing it, because the ego is always, that inner child is always going to internalize everything that the mother says, does, because they're looking at the mother as someone that's supposed to guide them and nurture them. When we start to do that work for ourselves, then that's when you can look at your mother more like a person. Like, okay, I love you. You do have some knowledge, but when you say this, I know you're speaking from an area that you're still healing from, or you're speaking from an area that you don't know well yourself.
Wow, that is powerful, because we're expecting. You said we're going to a well expecting to get water. You know that well is dry. Then also we're over here kicking the well and beating up the well because it ain't giving us the water that we want. Let's move on to solution number 2. The mother-daughter relationship is lifelong. She says this solution refutes how the media and counseling and human development theories often marginalize the mother-daughter relationship into a single issue problem, such as a mother with her troubled teenage daughter or an adult daughter with a difficult elderly mother. My research shows that the mother-daughter relationship is a lifelong relationship made up of 8 distinct stages that reflect the mother's and daughter's individual growth and development.
Wow. Yeah. And I mean, and it is. I think that, and I love though that she broke it down into 8 stages, because I think that makes it more realistic for people to process what that looks like. If I had to put a summary on it, I do think that it is a lifelong commitment. You know, being a mother is a lifelong commitment, and it changes. And I think it's up to the mother and the child to be able to recognize those different stages and point them out. Essentially, the mother is always going to be in a role of being a mother, the child looking to her. And for a lot of us who have experienced a lot of trauma with our parents, we may look to them for longer than we should, developmental wise, because we didn't get the support or the guidance that we needed to get when we were 15 or 16. So we may be 35 and 40 looking to them to help us with a life decision. And for them, you're 35 or you're 40, like you don't need this. And that's when we have to step up and say, I really do need this, because at this age, we were going through homelessness or dad left and I felt like this. So this is actually a stage where I do still need you.
Well, the tongue lashing for me, because I've been telling people, like, you grown. Okay, you don't tell your mom when you do this and that. So no, you're grown. Stop relying on your mom to be a mom at this age. I mean, it's give or take. It's both sides. Like, if you're grown and you're making your own decisions, don't hold your mother accountable to your decisions. But you also said a lot in that because it's a lifelong journey, at the time when I needed you to be a mother, we were dealing with this. So you weren't able to do that. So right now we're better. Now I need you to support me in this. So that's a very good point. Solution number 3, the mother-daughter relationship is a history lesson. This is the main reason why we're doing Sins of Our Mother, Fault of Our Daughters. I thought of this idea a long time ago when we were supposed to be doing a Black history program. And we talk about history as long gone, but we are his and her story in the making. And so when we look at the mother-daughter relationship as a history lesson, we need to tell our daughters what happened to us. We need to tell our mothers what is going on with us. And that way, the daughters don't perpetuate the sins of the mother, right? And they don't continue in their own fault. The daughters can say her story. This is what's going on with me right now. Let's share so we don't make the same mistakes. This solution challenges the incorrect assumption that the mother-daughter relationship is a self-contained dyad. Research shows that history repeats itself between mothers and daughters, especially when mothers and daughters don't share the stories of what has happened to the women in their generational family and how their lives and self-worth have been emotionally affected by the way their family and culture treats women. I see repeatedly how eating disorders, depression, anxiety disorders, violence, and sexual abuse, as well as emotional silencing and emotional neglect, are multi-generational issues. These daughters unconsciously repeat the abuse from which their mothers suffered, inherit their mothers' dieting behaviors and body hatred, and generation after generation keep marrying men who are emotionally unavailable.
She really did her research and studying this, because I mean, I agree with everything. It really shows how those patterns get passed down, and then we continue to do the same thing over and over again. And it speaks to that codependency as well, and those learned behavior patterns on being a people pleaser, and then having all these behavior patterns now, trying to maintain this way of life that's not working, because the overeating, the dependency on someone else, all of that also speaks to our own individual traumas that we're trying to cope with and navigate through.
That's very good. Thank you so much, Tanisha, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Sins of Our Mothers, Fault of Our Daughters. We are getting into our second part. Are you guys enjoying yourselves?
Yes.
Good. I am so glad you guys came. All you twinning. I love the look. We're going to just go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to put this question to Faith. What is your proudest moment as a mother to this daughter specifically?
There's a lot of proud moments that I had with her. I mean, she's a leader. She speaks up. She's definitely different than what I was. So I actually am inspired by her personality. I'm proud of her finishing school and now able to see her as a mother. And even though she may think I critique her or criticize her, she's a wonderful mother, very attentive. And so, yeah. And I could probably keep going. There's a lot of proud moments I have for Inaya. So,
Good. Robin.
Yes. Well, she's my only daughter, but I think my proudest moment, kind of like what Faith said about Anaya, Michelle was always my mute child, and I have her and me and her brother are very have an aggressive personality. And so she always kind of, go with the flow. She's like a little chameleon, wherever it is, what it is, I'll do it. And then one day she actually stood up to me, and told me she had her own voice and, that's not what she wanted to do. So that was a proud moment. I love the woman that she's becoming because but she kind of divulging a little too much because she told me how she hates all the styles that I did coming up. And, so I thought I had her looking like a little princess, but she said that she hated her whole life, But one of my, all jokes aside, one of my proudest moments is when she became a wife and a bonus mom. Her bonus daughter loves her so much. And she gives her the structure that I gave them because I was very structured. Everything about me is regimented, right? But also she shows her the love. She talks to her. She asks for her input. She's included in their life story. So I'm very, very, very proud of who she is as a bonus mom and as a wife. And she'll tell me, I got to see what Sean said. I'm cooking for my family. I said, well, I ain't your family. I need a plate. I'm by myself. Yeah. Yeah. I digress. But yeah, so I love how she puts her family first and she's good in that way. And she has my hustle. So I'm very proud of you.
What is one of your proudest moments as a mother to this daughter specifically?
I know there are a lot of moments. Okay. She does a lot of things well. I'm really happy when she does her personal best with music, piano, violin. She's singing in the praise team like she's in church. I mean, I like that. That means a lot. And I like the hustle that she put out there when she had to change from medical school to nursing school. And, the fact that she gets up and goes to work and does it, I'm happy with what she's doing. I just want to encourage her to be what she's supposed to be because I know that she wants to make me happy. She wants to make people happy. And I always want you to know, one boy, that I'm happy when you're happy, when you're doing what you believe you need to do.
I'm going to speak up for mom, Carlina's mom. Carlina's an entrepreneur, and I've seen a lot of her ventures. And what I enjoyed the most, and I know mom was so proud of this, is at one of her first event for her new business venture, mom was manning the table, and Chrissy, her sister, was there. It was like a family affair, and she was running it. I mean, the show, everything went so smoothly, and I know that she's been there watching you do that and being a part of it. And I do believe that she is super proud of your progress as an entrepreneur, as a mother. These boys are smart. I'm telling you, they're very smart, very intelligent, and they always let me know, TT, I got more money in my bank than you do. So, like she is, I think that should be one of her really proud moments, because they were raised really well. And so I'm just going to speak for mom on that. I just want to go around quickly and ask all of us, what did you expect to get coming here? And then what do you expect to give coming out of here? Whether that's give to yourself or whether that's to give to your mother, or even your child, what do you expect to give and what did you expect to get?
Well, I came because Keisha told me to come. So I really didn't know what to expect because I'm not really a share my feelings type of person, especially now with multiple people. So this is already really awkward for me. But I'm learning a lot, hearing my mom's side. And, I already knew like she's a woman as well. So like I've already had that sensitive side of giving her that grace. So it's just like, just hearing everybody else and knowing like she's not alone and that I'm not alone in my feelings. So yeah.
What I wanted to get from here today, I really wanted you to hear that I acknowledge where I went wrong. It was this podcast that made me realize that I held them hostage. So I needed to publicly tell you first, so then I can start doing the work, right? But what I want to give, and another thing that I did get from here is that I'm not alone, right? We just got different life stories in a way how they maneuvered around or whatever, but we're still mothers, we're still women, we still go through the same kind of thing. So that was refreshing to hear you guys for me, because I'm a person that'll go home and internalize it so that was healthy. What I want to give people more grace, right? Yeah. Give people more grace, especially women.
What I came into the podcast expecting was just a good conversation, hearing people's stories, which I think we did. And what I want to give is, like she said, giving people more grace and giving people the space to share their stories. And, the model that you brought up was really useful. So taking things like that into consideration when forming a perspective or philosophy around certain things.
I would say initially my mother was supposed to be on this panel as well, and she was one of the people who decided to back out. And not in a negative way. She explained to me that she didn't feel like we were ready. I felt like I was ready. But so initially I felt like this would be a moment, kind of a continuation of our healing. And I wanted to hear more of her perspective, of life, of what she's been through and her feelings. But that didn't happen. So then I kind of turned my focus to just being here to support you and also here with other mothers and daughters and just relate to you all. So that's what I wanted to receive. What I want to give, I guess, again, just be supportive to everyone here on the panel and give my support. I don't know what else I wanted to give.
You're a mother of boys.
Right.
This crosses over into that as well. And I know you were talking about we need to have this for boys. You're still a mother. In coming out of this, is there something different you want to do, or you just want to keep pushing through with what you've been doing as a mother and this is like a validation for you?
Well, I mean, it's definitely giving me more awareness and kind of taking me outside of myself. When I was mentioning how my mother did this and did that, and I was like, wow, I'm doing the same stuff with my kids. So it's helping me just kind of take myself out of myself and be more aware of what I'm doing and how these things can result later on in life for them. I genuinely feel like I'm doing a good job, but there's always so much to learn, and I know what I know. I think someone else mentioned that you can't do really more of what you know. So I guess this is giving me more knowledge so that I know more, so that I can do. If you knew better, you do better. Boom.
Yeah. But there's also one that says, the more I know I don't know nothing.
So the reason I came is because you invited me, and I want to see you fly high and succeed in your ventures. I see how you gather people, and the blessing that you are to many people, and I want to be a part of that. And I also wanted to look at my motherhood. As you know, that's been a big theme in my life. Am I doing it right? Have I done it right? Where can I fix it where it hasn't been right? And one of my daughters is not here. And, we've talked, me, Yejide, and Wambui, about, my feelings about the guilt about that. And, they have been, like you say, Robin, they've been trying to help me to deal with, you can't fix people. Everybody has to make their decision. But I want to be a part of the process of continuing this. And that's what I want to give. I want to see, like with you and your husband, you're a powerful team. I want to pour into you. I want to help to inspire people to pour into you, because I think you have so much to give and so much to share with people, mothers, children, and fathers, to really strengthen our community. That's what I want to do right now, is just really strengthen our community. There's not, I mean, we got a few more years left, I don't know, give or take. And I want to spend them, empowering people. And I see you at the forefront of doing that.
What I expected to get from this is just advice as a new mother. I don't even have a 1-year-old yet. So there's a lot for me to learn. Like, I'm just now starting my journey as a mother. So learning from other people's mistakes, even from their successes, is something that will help me in my journey through being a mother. And even though this is a mother-daughter thing, I have a son, is kind of different. But like you said, you're still a mother. So these are still things that we can learn from. So not even only me, just like other mothers that could also be listening, either expectant mothers or new mothers like myself. And what I expect, or what I want to give from this, is that everybody has different dynamics with their mothers. Just us three, like our duos are all come from different backgrounds, and we can all see similarities between ourselves, like in other people that are sitting here, even though they have completely different stories than us. So pretty much telling people that even if you don't have the same relationship with your mother that somebody else might have, like say your relationship is not strong with your mother as somebody else's, you don't know what they're going through with their mother. So you shouldn't use that as like a comparison to your relationship. Like you're always going to need to grow. And that's something that was said in the model. You're always going to be a mother. So as a daughter, you always have to work on that relationship with your mother as well.
So I expected to have the platform to be able to let my daughter know some things about me. We have pretty much a good relationship, she and I. It's not like that with my other children though. And I would say that it's not like that with my mother and myself, right? I don't open up to her. And so one of the things that I've been learning is trying to see myself and watch her and how she interacts with me, to try to heal that relationship with my mother as well. Cause it's totally different, our relationship. But I see my other daughter, has a different relationship with myself. She more so is like me, shut down, closed off. And so so what I wanted to give is that we can't, like she said, we can't compare ourselves to anyone, right? I have 3 children, 3 by the same dad, all 3 different personalities, right? But I'm trying to figure out what made our healing different, right? What made it where we can relate to each other a lot more. She's just becoming a mother. So what was it? What was the change? What did I miss with the other 2 children? But what I realized is that I mirrored the mirroring of those relationships is like my mom. So going back, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to go home and try it again. I've tried to have a different relationship with my mother, but even through the healing, some of the things I just kind of said, oh, it is what it is. Put it on the shelf. I can't deal with that right now because I need to deal with my children. But like you said, and the motto is all related to every aspect in your life, right? So I can't just compartmentalize and work on this relationship and then work on this individually. I need to go within, and that will help to strengthen all the other ones.
That's interesting you say that, because initially when I wanted to ask you, I had you and your mom down. I didn't think about having Inaya. I was going to have you and your mom come. I said, I don't know how mom's going to feel about that.
And yeah, and I would say that probably wouldn't have been the same. It wasn't the same outcome. When I told Inaya, she's like, oh yeah, let's go. But if I would say that even with Niara, it may have been a different, we may have backed out a little bit, right? Not on my part.
So who's here needs to be here.
Yes.
And I appreciate you guys all for being transparent with that. I'm going to ask you, what is something your mother has taught you that you are grateful for? This can be simple or complex.
She's always taught me to have a relationship with God. I never felt like she was pushing me into a specific, um, way of believing, but she gave me the tools to be able to figure out what it is that I believe, and I'm really grateful for that.
I'm going to ask a mother on the same question.
Taught me how to hustle. Taught me how to survive. So just a little backdrop. My mom died when I was a teenager, right? But when I was a little girl, she suffered with mental health and substance abuse, right? So she spent pretty much of my youth teaching me how to pay bills. I mean, like at a little girl age, handle Juju and I. Juju was the mother. She did all the cooking and everything, and I did all the hustling. We knew how to write checks, all the things. And so little did we know that she was preparing us for her death, right? So when my mom died, we were able to we didn't have time to grieve. We got our own apartment as teenagers. We went to school. We graduated from high school, and that was all done under the radar. I don't think we'd be where we are today had she not taught us that. So, like I said, as teenagers, we had our own apartment. We were catching BART to El Cerrito High. We worked full time, around the clock, 7 days a week, so we could, eat and stuff like that. And so that's the one thing I think that she prepared us for. Little did we know we would have to, be, without adults in our life.
That's good. It goes back to what we were asking, what's your dream retirement? To think that you've been working. I mean, I've been working for a long time, but I didn't necessarily have to when I was in high school. You guys had to put food on the table and pay rent before even graduating high school. And so when you think about that, I don't know for us daughters, if we could think about, I don't know if there will be retirement, but I mean, how can we send our mothers on trips? You know what I'm saying? To have a piece of that. How can we show, my mom have just started traveling a lot more. I'm so proud of you. Just jet set and been gone.
Yeah.
And so just maybe pouring into our mothers in that way. I want to ask, how have you carried on family traditions or cultural heritage from your mother? Or do you? Do you feel you lack that birthright of traditions and heritage, or do you think that she really left something that you kind of carry on with your boys?
No, we don't have any traditions. Making gumbo, and I still ain't got the recipe. So, yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, one of my earliest memories is us going to my great aunts and my aunts, both of them, my late aunts, homes on the holidays. No, we don't have that. But what I do is make sure that we get out into the world and do things. So I guess that's my translation of that. But outside of that, no, my mother hasn't been a very traditional person in that sense. I'm the eldest of her children, so she's always left things up to me, especially as an adult. Like, I'm the one who plans all the trips, and has the dinners and all those things. She doesn't do those things. But what she does do is bring great energy. She's a bubbly, loving, fun person, and that has translated to me, that she's passed that over to me. So outside of that, I'm really making my own traditions now with my children.
Inaya, same question for you.
I don't think I've passed anything along, at least not that I can think of. Like Carlina, my mom has a really bubbly personality. She doesn't think that she does, but like if we're at home, like the way that she interacts with my son, like always singing to him, she's always singing around the house. So I always play music for him. I'll sing to him, and I feel like that's something that I've gotten from her. People will always tell me that you act just like your mother. And usually when they say it, they're saying it in a negative way. But I'll always take it as like, this is the strongest person I know. Like, you can't say, oh, you act just like your mother, and me take it negatively, because I look up to her. This is my role model. This is the person who I've modeled my life after. Maybe in some ways that isn't as good as it should be, because there's mistakes that she feels like she's made, and I may have followed in her footsteps in that way, but not necessarily any traditions yet. Maybe that's just right now, but I also feel like because I didn't grow up with my mom, I'm still learning things from her. So there's still definitely time to put together traditions.
I wanted to say, I think I fought really hard to push against family. I don't know why. I have to explore that. I was like, I'm me, And so I don't think I thought there were any traditions, but I'm learning that we actually do have. I mean, like, we just get in the kitchen and start dancing and stuff like that. I mean, when we were younger, we were in an African dance troupe, and my mom used to teach African dance. And so just when we get when we get in the kitchen and start doing that, I think that's one tradition that we usually do. Definitely worship, always having worship together, singing all the time. But my mom and my dad, I believe my dad named me, but they gave me the name Yejide, which is in the image of my mother, or grandmother has come back to us. And if you see my dad's mom, she's like my twin. Like, I mean, or I'm her twin. I look a lot like her. And when my mom said we had Juneteenth a couple of years ago, and I was like, we're going to do this. We're barbecuing outside on the sidewalk. I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. I don't know. It's just something in me. And my mom was like, you're big mama. You're creating, like Carlina said. I'm like, we're going on trips. We do this, we that. And so my mom has facilitated that, because she didn't travel a lot, but she facilitated, like, what do you need to do this? And so, and she said, yes. I think our tradition is kind of like getting together. And lately we've been getting together on Mother's Day and like really turning up. So that's been good, because I don't really do the holidays, but we've been having a good time. And her birthday, I feel like that has been a good time to celebrate her. So we're going to move into the last portion, and we're going to talk about forgiveness. When we talk about heritage and legacy, I think healing is a legacy. Healing is going to be continual, right? But if we either talk too much, maybe push too much on people, trauma dumping or whatever people say, or don't talk enough, hold it in, right? Those are legacies too. Like sins of our mother's, fault of the daughter, right? We are doing this and we're passing it on to our daughters. So what healing legacy do we want to pass on? And what I'm proposing is that forgiveness, both ways, be the healing legacy that we pass on. And so I want to, and that's a big one for me. I'm a very conditional person. You step on my toe one time, I'm going to say, ouch. The second time, I will never talk to you again. So the forgiveness is a very hard thing for me. And I don't know where I got that from. Probably not you, because she's one of the most forgiving people I know. Sometimes I'm like, could you just be mean to them? Hello? Stop talking to these people, okay? Maybe it's from my dad. I don't know. But I want to leave a legacy of forgiveness for my kids, my non-biological kids, but they're my kids. I want they can see that. They can see that. Like I was just saying the other day, I'm there with my goddaughter and I had to apologize to her because I'm talking mess in her ear. Like, look at me. I shouldn't be doing that, right? And she'll carry that because then she doesn't like that person because I don't like that person, right? Yeah. And so we want to continue a legacy for forgiveness. So the last couple of questions are going to be about that. I'm going to ask Wambui, have you worked through forgiveness or healing in your relationship with your mother? And then if you have, how have you?
I don't think so. I think maybe, well, if I do something that I feel like maybe offended her, I try to go back and say sorry. It's like you said, the pride thing, sometimes it's like hard for it. I usually try to do that. And she apologizes to me too. So I think we have a good, like, like the same type of thing where you're saying like with Navi, you might do something and then you apologize. So it'll be like, that wasn't a good example I'm setting for you. So let me.
Oh, yeah. You know that person I was talking about the other day? Like,
yeah,
I shouldn't have done that.
I don't.
That was
that's
wrong.
Another thing I can't stand that about her. Like, I want her sometimes to just be talking about. I'm like, chill. You was good. They were wrong. You don't have to apologize for what they did and what you thought about what they did. You don't have to apologize.
You're right. I probably do overdo it sometimes.
She wants to forgive an aunt for accidentally getting stepped on. I love you for it. Yeah. But you don't have to.
That's a trauma thing.
It is. It's a trauma thing.
Definitely a response.
It's anxiety. I'm anxious a lot of time about things, about relationships. And so, like I can't make anybody else do anything, but I can do my part. Let's just forgive it and just squash it. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I mean, like, I meant it, but like, I didn't mean to do that to you. Right. So I apologize because it's just like, I don't want to ruin a relationship or anything just from a quick thought that came out when I knew I could have handled it a different way.
But so I have a question for that. Even if you're not the one, not the aggressor, not the one who did it, but you don't want to mess up that relationship. But are you being true and real with them? Because they're going to continue to do that to you if you keep apologizing to them.
True. Yeah, you're not. Sometimes it depends on the situation. But most of the time, I'm not really being that true to myself because it's like, I'm just taking abuse. If that, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really holding it down, but then it's kind of hard to hold that. I think it's just like an anxious thing. Like it's kind of hard for me to hold that because it's like, dang, you're going to be mad at me. How long are you going to be mad at me? How long do I have to sit in that, you know? So it's like, I rather apologize so you can be better and then I'll just deal with me later.
So I wanted to say that because there's a difference between forgiveness, right? Forgiveness a lot of times is for us. Let that angst go. So I just want to talk about quickly. My father passed. We did not have a great relationship. And I don't know if it was you I was speaking to or somebody I was speaking to, but I was there while he was dying. And as soon as I got there, I went into this mode of like, what's going on? I need to call the hospice nurse, like taking care. And whoever I was speaking to said, like, you did forgive him. Do you see that? That was you? It was Faith. You did forgive him. You went that right there is, and I was like in my feelings, like, did I forgive? He died. I didn't forgive yet. Like I was scared that I didn't, but it was like I was taking care of him at that moment. And it was Faith. She was telling me that, like, you let that go. Cause in that moment, all your love was poured out. You were taking care of him until he took his last breath. Right. And so all of that went away. So some people don't have that chance. And so what I'm saying right now is the forgiveness is for you. However, don't let anybody abuse you. Don't let anybody walk over you. Don't just quickly take that back because you still want to be in their life. There are times to separate and say, right now, I need my bubble, right? But I forgive because I don't want that in my heart. I don't want that angst. I don't want to pass that on to my kids or whatever else, right? Have you sought forgiveness or made amends with your mother?
Think so. I mean, I've always had the grace of because like I've known so much of what she's gone through. So it's like I don't hold it against her. Like she's a woman that had to raise herself. So nobody taught her how to be a mom. She didn't have that. There wasn't family that really was there to really help her out. So it's just like I understand. And now that I'm a bonus mom and like I understand like you did the best you could.
Faith, have you sought forgiveness or made amends with your daughter?
I would say yes. My biggest thing is forgiving myself. I struggle with that. I'm okay. I apologize. I'll move on like, oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I can make amends with other people, but myself, I sit with myself a lot. And so, like I said, just overcompensating. Yes, I struggle with, I'm in therapy. So I always wanted to share, sometimes when you're in therapy, they give you homework, right? And so my therapist was like, yeah, and she's spiritual. And she said, yeah, part of your homework this week is to write down 10, 10 people that you want to forgive. And so I was like, all right, got this. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it was her that said, so then we came back the next week and she's like, all right, did you do your assignment? I was like, yeah. I think she gonna ask me who the people are. She's like, were you on there? And so that's when I realized what therapy was. It don't have anything to do with anybody else. I know that you can't forgive anyone until you start with it. So this is what I'm really working on and trying to give myself grace. The more grace I give myself, the more grace I can give others.
That's right. I did, you saying that forgiving yourself. I feel like my whole life I never forgave my mother, right? But then I became her, right? And so you have to start with yourself. And I done been through 1,000 therapists, okay? And I'm still messed up, okay? And so, but this is the most therapeutic. Now, literally, I've been in therapy my whole life, right? But this part right here was the most therapeutic because I think had I forgiven my mother years ago, I was mad. Okay. Didn't have no kind of childhood, right? But if I would have forgiven her a long time ago, I would probably been a better mother to my children. But I grew up angry. My son always said, you always trying to survive. He said, right now, mama, you got a good job. You got your own, you done well. Calm down. I still live like I lived when I was a teenager. I'm supposed to be retired. Now I'm trying to find another job. I done been everything. Seriously. I have what, 7 trades because I'm trying to survive because I'm scared to retire. And I got 26 years in, but I feel like I always got to hustle. I don't feel like and that's the part where I'm trying to work with my God, because I don't trust him enough to totally take care of me. So that's why. So I need to heal that part, like really forgiving my mom and then forgiving me for how I did them, So it's that inward thing for me. But it's like, yeah, I just always in survival mode. I feel like I'm going to always have to work. I'm going to always have to be doing something to make sure I'm taken care of, because I wasn't, right? Yeah.
Hold on one second. When she said, we were talking about triggers. So when she just said that, forgiving her mother, right? And so I'm just realizing that that's probably where it starts, right? The reason why I can't move on with accepting what kind of mother I was because I haven't fully given my mother that grace, forgiving her. So just right now, just recognizing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody take a deep breath in. And out. Time to forgive. I forgive you.
No.
I do. And I ask for your forgiveness.
So my mom, she often talks about. I've heard her say this before. We have a really good relationship. We talk about our feelings often. And one thing she did just say was that she feels like she gave us abandonment issues, and I never felt like that. Like I honestly don't think, and I mean, this is just my perspective, it's different from hers. I don't feel like she needs any forgiveness, because I don't think that she did anything wrong for me, like in our relationship. And I don't know if that's something that I need to think about more, like in terms of like my abandonment issues. I feel like all my abandonment issues come from my dad, and he was the person in my life. My mom is the one who was always there for me emotionally. She was always the one making memories like with us. So this is what I mean when I had said like people come from different backgrounds and different things may be happening and you could feel something completely different. So I just want to say, and I feel like I've told you this before, but I feel like you were a great mom. And I know that you feel like you abandoned us. And I will say that there are so many people who have told me, her included, that because of how we were raised, we should be way more messed up than we actually are. Like so many people tell me that me and my siblings, she did say that I operate with her and just through life way differently than my siblings do. But as the whole, everybody always tells me, you guys, considering what you guys went through, they usually aren't even talking about her. They're talking about my dad. But what we've been through, she has amazing kids. She's raised us to be amazing. And I just want to thank you for that. I do want to thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to ask this last two questions. So for the mothers, okay, mothers, what legacy do you hope to leave your daughter and future generations? So keep that in mind, okay? Daughters, yours is, what do you hope to pass down to your own children or future generations? I understand that not everybody wants to have kids or not everybody's going to have kids, but your generations involve who you're responsible for.
The legacy that I want to leave is just to be yourself. I don't think I was ever able to just be myself. I was told to be somebody that my parents wanted me to be. My grandparents wanted me to be. My uncle, sit this way, sit, don't do that, don't wear this, don't, and I want my kids to be happy. And so part of that in the legacy is modeling that, right? So it's one thing to say that, right? And so I have to do some work too, because I know that not a lot of the ways that I operate is learned. It's learned behavior, right? And how I react to things, how I do things. And so if I want to leave the legacy that I want, I have to model it. Me get it in the word more, and me modeling the journaling, and she's now in the Bible and reading, because she knows I'm on this journey. So, before I was just in my room, she was like, "You in your room? Get out my room, y'all." Like, but just allowing them to see what the healing is, and that is, you're not crazy, it's just trauma, right? And so I just want them to be able to heal and to live just the amazing life that God created them to be. Like, He does not want us to be angry and upset all the time, and struggling and just in survival mode. So just learning how to do that for myself, so that I could pass that down, and she could pass that down, and they could pass that down to their generation after generation, in this generational curse of just not saying anything and going through life, just letting life just drive us, and we have no real purpose, and just knowing their worth. And yeah, so just modeling that so that they get.
Okay, Naya, what do you hope to pass down to your own children or future generations?
Just like anything that I've learned from my mom, even things that she hasn't specifically told me, but things that I've learned from watching her. Again, we just talked about her leaving. I feel like surviving, sometimes you have to let go. Definitely something that I've learned recently. I just left my son's father, and it's because I had put myself in the situation that she was in with my dad. And like learning from her mistakes is going to teach me how to be a mother myself. And then like for future generations, just really learning from your elders. It's hard. Like I said earlier, sometimes older people telling you things and you not wanting to listen. Know that if not all the time, but most of the time, if it's people around you that love you, they're telling you these things from a place of love and care. So just moving through life, knowing that you can make mistakes and you can still keep on going. It doesn't matter where you might have fallen off a couple years ago. You always have time to go back and fix yourself. So that's what I feel.
What legacy do you hope to leave for your daughter and future generations?
Well, just piggybacking on what Faith and her daughter said, that people, my daughters, future generations, be who they are, and learn how to shed quickly curses or dances or emotions that we perform because this is what we were born into. I want them to always be seeking to be their best and to influence well and to be well. And we need to pick up something that Carlene is doing, because we don't do that generational wealth. I want us to have money. And it's not just money, it's influence and power and knowledge in order to move things. Like when we walk through the waters part. Like when we walk in a crowd, we go through, nothing sticks on us. Like Mother Kay used to say, wear the world as a loose fitting garment. To be able to move, we're not getting caught. So, and to establish, to be light and to show the light. And that's one reason why you're living the legacy. You're doing it. It's like your name yesterday means in the image of her mother. You're doing it. When Wambui was the editor of that magazine at Andrews University, that caused me to write my book. That caused me to put my Emancipated Gospel out, because it was a book that was laying on the back burner, which I thought nobody wanted to hear. But my own children brought it forth. Wambui brought this article out that, dealt with, how come Black people from other countries don't see who we are? Well, let me tell you this history. And she could tell the history because I told her the history. But when she told the history, it made me say, well, wait a minute. Why do I have this book on the back burner? Crying because nobody wants to hear it. Somebody wants to hear it. And then yesterday edited it. And so they helped me to birth the legacy. That means a lot to me. If my family has gathered around something and we're doing it. And I'm going to close with this. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now. My colleague said, don't go to California. Yeah, because ICE is going to take you.
Oh, wow. Where?
Where they going to take me?
Where we go?
They said, you look like you might come from South America. You might be gone. But I want part of my legacy part of my legacy is to stand tall no matter what's happening in this. We know where we belong. There's fight in this. We know where we belong, and people should not be pushing us. That's why we're dealing with all this mess anyway, because some people are grabbing more power. That's why you went through your stuff, because somebody decided to drive drunk, take your dad, and you had to go through your stuff. We need to stand up where we are and push back. And that's my legacy. We need to push back for things that establish righteousness on the earth, things that establish, make a place for people to be. So that means money. That means love. We got to have love. I want to lead people to believe that you don't have to go in the closet and cry like me. I used to go, I don't want people to see me cry. So I'm going to run in the closet right quick, and I'm going to stay in there and I'm going to cry and then come out when I get better. But as soon as I see somebody, it's just going to come down again. I want to be able to come out of the closet. If I got to cry, okay, you see me cry, whatever. But I'm here for a reason, and I want to leave that legacy. We belong. We're here for a reason. We don't have to be pushed back.
Carlina, what do you hope to pass down to your own children or future generations?
So much. Oh, this can be a long conversation, but ultimately, I want to pass down courage. I, with all of me, want my children to be courageous, to do whatever it is that they feel they need to do for themselves, no matter what. I think that it's important that they have that courage to be able to make choices that suit them well. And even before that, to learn who they are and not to be afraid of learning who they are by all means. That means traveling, trying new things, joining new groups of friends, whatever that is, for them to be courageous enough to step out and to do what they need to do. And in addition to that, I want them to learn to make sure that they always set themselves up to have choices, all of the choices possible, so that they can choose, you know what? This is what I want to do. I always tell them, you strive high so that you can do anything you want to do. If you become complacent or mediocre about life, then you only give yourself this much of a choice, right? So work hard, do what you need to do, and then you decide what you want to do, because now you have the world at your fingertips, you know? And in addition, as everyone is mentioning, that wealth, not only the monetary wealth, but the health, the emotional wealth, especially as young Black men, not having as many examples as I wish that they would have in front of them. But please believe I'm making sure that I find those people and those outlets for them to know that with the choices, they need these resources in addition to the intelligence, right, and the education, to make sure that they always have the choice to do whatever it is they want. Because I'm passing down what I know, what I want for myself. I'm 41 years old and I'm retired already. And a lot of people find that very puzzling, but it's because now in retrospect, I understand these choices that I made set me up so that I can be in this position, you know, to really be hands-on and raise my children and be right there with them, homeschooling them, showing them how to pay for stuff at the cash register, setting up their accounts and reading with them and having these long conversations and always being with them. So I'm trying to not just tell them, but to show them. Because, you know, children, you can tell them stuff all day long. And it's like they need to see that, and they need to see the results and decide, oh, I like that. Just like any human being. So really the courage I'm passing down, the power of choice, and again, that generational wealth, making sure you got, as young men, I tell them, you never leave out of this house without your wallet, because you are a protector and a provider. And that's how you do it, with your resources. So you need to make sure you keep it coming. You don't be complacent. You keep it coming, and doing it by doing the things that you love on top of that. not just working tooth and nail just because, you know what I'm saying? A lot of us get, and I've been there too, getting into that mode. I just need to make money and do whatever I need to do. No, that's why you need to do that soul searching and be courageous enough to find the things that you love and venture out and not be afraid. And if you are afraid, that's okay. That's a good fear. That means it's something you've never done. Dive. And what's the worst that can happen? Because mama gonna be right here, to help guide you through it. So that courage is so important. That's what I want to pass down.
All right. What would you like to, not too soon, okay? What do you hope to pass down to your own children or future generations?
Yeah, my mom has put a lot of things in me that I would like to pass down. One of the things that comes to mind is a love for knowledge and learning. Second thing is knowing where you come from, knowing your history, and really being grounded in that. So that's a short answer, but yeah.
But one thing about me and all my screwed upness is that I love hard. Everybody that know me, I love you hard. And I try to be a giver. I'm very selfless in that way. And I don't know if it's because of my shortcomings or what I didn't have during those times or whatever, but I'm always going to be there to help somebody. So that's what I hoped. Just be selfless, because you just don't know where one of my ministries is going out to the homeless, right? And doing everything for them. That's because I had that little times of being homeless. So just give back, because when you give back, it's a feeling that you get that's just joyful, right? And generational, you know how I am about the generational wealth. Everybody know I'm like never giving out toys. We getting bonds and all the things. So, setting us up to have, because a lot of other races, they make sure that their babies are set up. I don't care if they did 20 years in the pen. They get out. If they got it, they're going to sit at the head of that table like that as a CEO, right? They're just going to shave them on up and sit them at. We got to start doing that, because the struggle is real. And we shouldn't have, it's funny. I'm going to be real quick. It's funny how some of us think when we in positions that we can help, they're quick to say, well, why they can't, do it on their own. I struggle, but why do you have to struggle? Why can't I just put you in position? Because it's enough for all of us to eat. So I'm hoping that my children help other people eat, whether it's financially or whatever. And my biggest thing I would love for them to do or leave the legacy of family. Me, we only had my sister and I till we reunited with my baby sister, because she was raised by another family. Our mom, hopes she's watching. Her father's wife raised her as if she was her own, right? And so it was only me and Jew, right? And so not having that family, I want you guys to stick together. Family's everything. Now, I'm not saying don't be abused, but you and your brother and your cousins, if possible, Tristan the Kite, after we leave, it's a wrap. So I would love for you to keep that going, because it takes a village for us to survive. We can't survive that island, that private island. It don't work. Yeah. Right. And so that's what I would love. Just love hard.
Keisha, you did a great job, because those are the things I was going to say. I really was, because your love for family, it's crazy. The way you give to people and to the ones that you don't even know is just such a blessing. And so that's something that I definitely want to pass along, as well as just your hustle. Kids nowadays, they don't know how to work for something. It's always given because we're trying to make up for what we didn't have and lacked. So then we give so much that they don't know how to hustle and get it on their own. So that hustle that you had, it motivates me to continue to hustle and make sure my kids know that things in life isn't given, So yeah, that selflessness, family, I got you, friend. I'm all that.
I just want to thank you all for coming out. This has been really good. It surpassed my expectations. So I really appreciate you guys taking time to come and sit down for our 8th episode of Questions That Keep Me Up All Night. As you were talking about bringing people along, I have some gifts in here for you guys. We're about edutainment at Noggin ENT. So you need to educate yourself. Okay, so my mother wrote a book years ago, actually, that I have not read, because I started reading it and I was like, I know who that is. I don't want to deal with it right now. Still haven't read it. Don't want to deal with it. Rosie's Secret Passion. So some of you guys will be going away with a copy of that book. And then some of you will be going away with Tanisha. So we looked at Tanisha Johnson was talking. She's a mental health coach. She's a friend of Carlina's. She put me onto her. She's been on my podcast, and she's also helped with the girls when they were in high school. We had a session on mental health. And so she wrote 2 books. So one of her books will be in 2 of you guys' bag. And then I was talking about The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And so that's another book. So if you get the book and you don't like it, swap. Tell somebody, hey, I want this book, I want that. But I really appreciate you guys coming out and taking time. And we will do this again.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And I do want to say, I want to thank you guys for those of you who bought tickets. Here's the thing. When we're talking about bringing people along, you guys don't see it out there, but I got my kids over here. I want to teach them also about entrepreneurship. They don't have to be a nurse if they don't want to. They don't have to be a garbage man. Maybe they want to do something like this. They want to do events. And so I want to teach them how to be present and how to work events and how to do things. And I just want to acknowledge my girl, AJ, who came out. She came out and did mocktails and helped in the kitchen. I want to acknowledge Claudia. She's out there. She helped put together a very nice spread for us. And so that was good for us to have little snacks. And then I also want to thank our audience out here. That's my girl, y'all. And so I just appreciate everybody. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And drums, please. For the best DJ Bay Area to LA, DJ Snick at Night. Listen, let me tell you guys about this crew here, okay? For real, like, she did my wedding. She surpassed what I needed. She came with video footage. I didn't ask her for that. Of the whole weekend, pictures that I wouldn't have even been able to take, and really, really helped out there. And then here, like, I didn't have mics. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to set up my computer. You see, it didn't work. She had to come with her camera so that we can do the podcast. So I just want to thank you so much. She always there, always have my back. So I appreciate that. And then Carlina helped me get the set together, helped me push through and figure out what I really wanted to do for this. So I want to thank all of you guys for coming on out. I'll see you back again in August for Questions That Keep Me Up All Night podcast. Thank you.
I thought it was just me. I'm like, am I having a private summer? What's going on?
It's not private.
And then I included y'all.
Cut. That's a wrap. Who's a rapper? No, that's a wrap. Who's rapping? No, we're done. It's a wrap. Wrap it up. Let's go. Well, I can rap, but I need a beat.